Hey, welcome back to another episode from Life for Living Well. I hope you're well. Before I dive into the podcast this week, I'd like to quickly say if you like to know one or two things about Life for Living Well community, you can check it out on our website at www.lifeforlivingwell.com. And if you do like to drop me a line, you can also use the form on our website. Just contact me and you can drop your line and I will try and get back to you as soon as possible. So let's get diving this week. What do we have this week? It's what I call obstacles to growth. It takes a bit time to reflect on this particular topic before I actually decided to go live with it. But like we normally do, to pick one inspirational quote for one inspirational individual before we start the podcast. As I said, that like Dr. Dare would say, inspiration means that you are in the spirit. So let's just become inspirational to one another as we start this podcast. So this week I'm taking from Henry Ford of his definition of obstacles. Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal. So if you just think about the challenges, difficulties, complexity that you need to overcome to achieve your goals, that alone is enough to demoralize you, derail you, make you feel weak. If you think how many months, years you've been patiently waiting for change and it doesn't seem that the change is coming fast as you wish, or it doesn't seem that the change could happen, that alone is enough to demoralize you, to make you weak. But by the time if you have the time, if you follow this podcast throughout the period that we share together, maybe it could become inspirational for you. So let's look into obstacles to growth. And I just focus on three areas that we both have power and control to change. There are many things that can be obstacles to growth, but these three is so subtle that if we lack awareness, we might not notice it, and we can spend years in the same situation again and again. It's Einstein that said doing the same thing and expecting something different is the beginning of insanity. But it takes awareness to actually notice how you sabotage yourself. And what can you do? So I hope by the time we finish this podcast, you will find one or two things from it. So firstly, what is growth? So taking it from dictionary, it just simply means a process of increasing in size. We all know baby go through the growth. Before it becomes fully functionally adult individual, it took a process. That process, you cannot rush it. Because if you try to rush it, you actually create the more issues and damages long time. Not for that baby alone, for that individual that become part of the society. The same thing with the crop. It's just a tiny seed that you planted on a second into the ground. With time, it come up and show what it's made of. So the same thing with us. We're supposed to be growing size, whether in area of our career, in area of business, in our relationship with others or with ourselves. We're able to know more than what we know a year before, a month before, even yesterday. So the question is, are you much better than who you were yesterday? So if you honestly ask this question and be honestly answer that question, you will realize that you actually may have a lot of power within yourself to make that change. We can experience many growths in our lifetime in the area of character, material wealth, relationship, career, spirituality, business, and many more. Most peculiar in the area of personal growth when you are willing to do the work. And many advantages that cannot be ignored, such as improvement in career prospects, developing better relationships, and the possibility of improving focus and motivation. And if you think about it, one of the things that separates 1% that we look up to as a highly achievable individual is because the relentless focus and motivation that they have. You need motivation. It's not easy to be doing something and falling and failing or getting shot from it and keeping yourself up every day and try again. It's like a child learning how to ride a bike. If a child give up for the first time he had a fall for the bike, he will never be able to ride a bike. So keeping our focus and motivation, it takes a lot at the same time. But it only happens if you embrace personal development as a way of life. When you have a bath, when you have a shower today, you don't just give up the following day or day after following day. You will still have a bath. You still have a shower or bath because it's something that you have to do if you're going to relate it to yourself or other people. So the same thing with personal development. You can't say, oh, because I read this particular book about how to be certain person or how to do my business, so I don't need to do anything anymore. I know it all. You don't. And the only way we acquire more wisdom, in my experience, is through a load of development and helpful books, because it's full of knowledge and wisdom that in this lifetime you as an individual do not have enough time to acquire that knowledge. You do not have a lot of time to make so many mistakes and learn in so many mistakes and keep going. But some people choose that path to just learn from their own mistake alone. It's costly, it takes a lot of time, and say it doesn't really show them the true reflection of the whole experience. So what are the main reasons many have abandoned this lofty idea? In fact, the obstacle to growth in many cases are very subtle in my view, and we take awareness from the part of the individual to fish it out. So it would be like a Archimedes discovering whether the crown of a king was made with a pure gold or it was being mixed up with the silver. You can imagine our moment at that time. It would be the time that Daniel was able to interpret the dream for the king. You will realize the aha moment for the king at that moment. So me and you may already have a aha moment in our life at one point that something just turn on and you just know. So there are 3 major obstacles you should be aware of, and I'm hoping that I will be able to cover them briefly and short on this podcast. But if you do like to read in full about this particular podcast, you can also see the article written up for this particular podcast that you can find on our website. It should be coming out on Tuesday as well, and it's called Obstacle to Growth. So there's a 3 element that I highlighted in this podcast that becoming a danger to our growth. So let's look at it one by one. Number one, limited beliefs. And it can show up in so many ways. Sometimes when you see somebody talking loud or reason loud, we automatically assume that they must have some kind of psychological or mental health issues. It's not always the case most of the time anyway, but because they talk loud, because they reason loud, so you could observe that. But another thing is the people that talk within themselves, they don't actually speak out. You see them that they're sitting there, but they're absent-minded. But they also, every day we have a thought of ourselves, and it's the purity of your thought that determines the kind of compassion or passion that you arouse in yourself. So let's cite an example of limited beliefs. It comes across this way: I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to show up this way through the thoughts. I'm not good enough to manage this project. I'm too old or too young. I'm too young to be a manager. So what would they do? They would do everything to sabotage the opportunity. I don't have enough time. I don't have the skills. I'm not brilliant. I'm not good in math. I don't have enough time to invest in myself. So that even if it's only 20 minutes a day that I can use, I'd rather watch TV 3 hours a day after work and go to bed. This will happen when you're or people will say, oh, I don't want to try, but I can't. Meaning that they have no control about the choices they make, that something else is holding them to make them that choice. I don't have enough time to invest in myself. I'm not smart enough. I'm not smart enough to lead this meeting. So this kind of belief is deeply rooted, which takes a lot of awareness to confront it. So if you want to be free, you have to confront it. If you want to be free, you have to challenge this kind of belief. Even when people get what they say they want, they often sabotage it by behaviors and thinking. You become what you think about. So, how do you rate your silent thought? How do you rate your own thought about the particular event, about yourself, about your future? What kind of thought is dominant in your mind? In a week, how many times you think that your future is hopeless? How many times you think that you are not good enough? And you did not say what you can do to change that thought, that view, that opinion about yourself. Is that really true? Can you be something that you're really, really good at? Because you're late at work on Monday, it doesn't mean that you're always late to work. Number 2, pride. This phrase is adapted from a verse in the book of Proverbs in the Bible. The pride goes before destruction, and the haughty spirit before a fall. So what an example. I can give you one example. He's so unwilling to delegate any responsibility to anyone else that I'm sure is going to end up crumbling beneath all the pressure. So they come up with so many reasons. So they're just full of themselves, and they begin to push people away. So people that can actually help them, people that are actually more talented than them, they're so afraid to share that responsibility with them. So they want to be the one that make all the decisions, all the choices, and that's it. And when the result comes, they're also willing to blame something outside of them for it. People that allow their pride to envelop their lives often create unhealthy isolation, and this black spot is often unidentified. You will find it difficult to listen, to take feedback that may actually help you. Your pride will undermine teamwork and raise your need above others. Because if you feel like you're better than others, if you feel like you know more than anyone, if you feel like nothing else anyone can say to you, it is very difficult to work as a team. You bound to fall into your own trap. And that takes us to the last one, which is procrastination. If you manage to work on these obstacles, we will begin to see a lot of positive changes in our life, in our relationship, in our work, in our chosen field. Procrastination. This is old in a woman nature, that we have tendency to procrastinate things that we don't have confidence that we can do, or things that we don't really prioritize so much in our life. We have tendency to procrastinate it. So continually saying, I will do it later, or something similar, like I will do it tomorrow. I think one of the favorite words I used to add a lot in Spain is mañana. If you ask someone, can we meet? Can you help me do this right now? And the next thing they say is mañana, tomorrow. And tomorrow come, it will be tomorrow again. Tomorrow come, it will be tomorrow again. So getting stuck in neutral, even though you know how important it is to get started. Needlessly delaying finishing tasks, even if they are important. Postponing working on things you don't like to do. So we have to be intentional if you really want to break free on these particular obstacles. We have to be intentional with our actions, even when it's boring. If it's going to take an hour, why can't you just spend the first 10 minutes to see how you can tackle it and leave it a bit, do something else, come back to it again. But set a time that day that you need to finish. So finally, as I'm reaching toward the time to bring the podcast to the end, finally, personal development allows you to confront and walk through obstacles from the inside and out. Adapting a personal development mindset not only breaks the yoke of obstacles highlighted above, but unleashes your potential for growth. I hope that you will be able to confront any of these obstacles if you notice that you're already predominant in your own life. If you already overcome this, I would like to know what you've done to make this happen. Drop me a line. It's always good to share insight and then can help both each other to continue to grow. I hope this podcast helps someone. If you'd like to understand this particular podcast in a full detail, if you'd like to read the article about it, you can find it on our website at www.lifeforlivingwell.com. And I hope you have an amazing week. Please stay safe. Until we meet again next week. Ciao.